Hi, welcome to the Tuesday Afternoon Podcast with Ben and Wrenn. In a time when we're learning to lean more on each other, we are doing this because we want to explore ways to live out our faith every day, even on a beautifully ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday Afternoon Podcast with Ben and Wrenn. This is Wrenn.
Hi, I'm Ben.
It's great to have you guys with us today, and we hope that you'll enjoy the time that we spend together. How's your week going, Ben?
Thanks for asking. It's going really well. We're, of course, recording here on a Tuesday afternoon, as we always do, and had a great weekend with my family. We Saturday went down to Wilkesboro, which is it's always warm in Wilkesboro.
Yeah, yes, it always is.
And they have a wonderful greenway out there. Sam wanted to ride his new bike. Margot wanted to ride her rollerblades. So we just had a great time outside enjoying that. How about you?
Awesome.
Did you do anything fun this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend, my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, both of our daughters, the three of us went to the beach together and had a great weekend. We just had wonderful weather and good conversations, and it was just very relaxing and fun.
That is so important.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys had a fun weekend.
We did. Really fun. I heard that you kind of, I'm going backwards, but I'll go ahead and ask you about it. You were telling us earlier that you noticed some new goings on at the local park here in town?
Yes. I took my children to the park today. We were going to take a loop walk around Krause Park, brought our dog with us, and we noticed construction going on and saw that they are building new playground equipment at the park here in Sparta, which is it's just a dream come true. It's just so cool to see our town investing in that. So thankful, so proud of them. And it looks like really fun, high quality equipment, and my kids are thrilled about it. So.
Yeah. Oh, that is so needed right now, and that is exciting too. We were talking earlier with Jonah, our awesome producer, about the very, very steep slide that they've had there for years, and how when we first moved here and our youngest was 3, how freaky it was to watch your child. I think I went up behind her most every time she went down, which she didn't really like, but anyway, so good. New things.
Yes, and I know for some folks it was hard to see that slide go. A lot of memories, a lot of names carved in that slide, but same thing with my own children. And then as a teacher, seeing those kids climb up there and fight over who got, oh boy, I probably lost 2 or 3 years off my life worrying about that slide. So for so many reasons, and thrilled to see new equipment going in.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. Very good. Shall we do quotes for the week?
Yeah. Do you have a good quote for us today, Wrenn?
I have a quote. So it's sort of going along with the kind of the subject that we might be talking about today. And my quote is, "Imagination is the highest kite one can fly." And it is by Lauren Bacall, who is an actress from, the golden age of Hollywood. She was no, she wasn't in Casablanca, but she was married to Humphrey Bogart, who was in Casablanca. So anyway, that's my quote for the day.
That's a good quote.
Thanks.
I don't know where mine came from. I heard it somewhere, and I've thought about it a lot this week. There's an old saying that goes, expect the best and prepare for the worst. Mm-hmm. And the modification of that I heard, which I love, is expect the best and know we'll get through the worst together.
Oh, I really like that.
Yes. And I think that is a really good way to view life. Not expect the best, hope for the best. That's how it goes. Hope for the best and know if the worst happens, we'll get through it together.
Right. Yeah, then you're starting out with your glass half full.
Yes.
Instead of, because there was another quote that I looked up earlier today, a Muhammad Ali quote that said, if you don't have imagination, you don't have wings, or something along those lines. And I thought, that's a great quote, but it just doesn't seem as positive as I'm going for. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, it's good to have one that's just looks on the bright side, but if the bright side gets dim, it's okay because we're
You're
in
not
this
alone.
together.
That's
It's going to
right.
be all right.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So we're thinking about having a conversation this week about using your imagination and the importance of play, which I have to say, after this weekend, really hit home with me how important play is. I mean, it's the way our children learn. It's like their jobs
That's
as
right.
human beings when they're from the time they're born until they're 5, 6, 7 years old. That is the main thing that they should be doing, because that's how we learn. That's how we figure out how to problem solve, how to get along with others, how to take turns, how to create from our own imaginations things that we would never be able to do if we were constantly given instruction and supervision and all of those things. And so when we were at the beach this weekend, we rented bicycles on Saturday, and I realized a couple of things. One, I haven't ridden a bike in 10 years, and you really do get right back on
Really?
and take right
Just
off,
right back
which
on.
is really good to know. It's very comforting to know that. And the other thing I realized is that, I'm riding my bike with our 2 adult daughters, and they were both ahead of me. We were riding on the road at the beach, and it didn't seem scary at all. It seemed exhilarating and fun, and just like we didn't have a care in the world. And I didn't necessarily see that coming when we rented the bikes. There was just some like, oh, is this going to be okay? We're not wearing helmets. So I realized that play is super important no matter what age you are, and that we get so used to our daily routines and all the things that we do as quote unquote adults that I think sometimes we forget how important it can be to step outside of yourself and be a kid again. And I would just really like to encourage people to take the step and do something you really loved as a child. You could probably think of any number of things that give a try.
I think that I agree with you. I think that's so important. And Wrenn and I were talking about this, and I'm a pastor, so verses always pop into my head. And we were talking about something Jesus says in the book of Matthew. I'm going to read it real quick. It's from Matthew 18. The disciples come to Jesus and they say, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And so Jesus calls a child to him, placed the child amongst them, and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." And so if I just find great and exciting opportunities in passages like this when Jesus says you should be like a child, to think, well, what's a child like? And so you just brought up this concept of play. And I think that it might sound silly. You may not be used to thinking about God being excited about you playing. But we were just talking about how that really shows a lot of trust.
Right.
It shows if you're willing to rest, to put down the cares and concerns of the world for a moment and play, that's an act of faith. It's an act of trust. I forgot to put my phone on silent. It's acknowledging that you don't have to be actively working for the world to keep spinning.
Yes.
It's still going to be here.
Yeah.
Your problems will still be here. You can take a break and play and enjoy the goodness that God has placed in your life. I just think that's a really cool thing to think about.
Yeah, and too, when you take that break from the other realities of the world, I think it gives you a nice reset for when you get back to those things, because you've taken a creative break, and you maybe you have some new and fresh ideas about the things that you do have to handle as a grown up.
That's right.
And so that's always helpful too. Yeah, faith is about letting yourself move forward when you don't really know all the time how things are going to turn out. And it's sort of like, walking through the dark. You can see this little light at the end of the tunnel, but that doesn't mean that you know exactly what's going to happen between where you are and when you get to that light. And that's faith. And sometimes it's really hard, but then again, when you look at it as a child looks at it, they're not thinking about how hard it's going to be to get from here to the light at the end of the tunnel. They are just moving. They are asking questions. They have there's nothing clouding their minds as to, well, this can go wrong or that could go wrong.
Right.
It's just all about the moment that they're in and getting to that next moment and the one after that.
Mm-hmm. Journey before destination.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned something else there that I think is interesting when we think about what are children like, and that's asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 7-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter, and I spend roughly 49% of my day answering questions. They ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And when they ask me questions, it's not because they don't trust me
Right.
or because they don't believe in the things that we talk about as a family. It's because they're trying to process and understand the world around them. And so what if Jesus is inviting us here? I'm not trying to get on too much of a soapbox here, but what if our places of faith, our spiritual gatherings, our faith-based gatherings, churches, what if those weren't places where we had to come knowing all the answers, but places where we could come to ask a lot of questions?
Yeah.
As we try to process and figure out the world.
Together.
Together.
Like you said, we're on this journey together, and that's how you figure things out, by asking questions and finding out who's good at what and how can we work together and move forward as children do. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll be honest, one of the most common questions I get asked as a pastor is people wondering if they're struggling in their faith because they have a lot of questions.
I see, yeah.
And so if you are out there and you have a lot of questions, I actually think that's a sign of strong faith. I think that's a sign that you're growing, and I think that is exactly where you are supposed to be. Questions are not... aren't a bad place to be.
Right.
I think it's one of the best places you can be.
Yeah. We have we have a little, I guess it's a board. What is it called that you hang up on something? It has a little quote on it.
Like a cork board or a bulletin board?
It's just I'm trying to think what it's called. It's a quote, and it's on a board, and it's hanging up in our kitchen, and we've had it I don't typically have stuff in my house that has quotes on it on the wall, but I have this one thing, and it just says faith, and then in the background it says let go and let God. And what I've thought about a lot lately, because we've talked about it a lot, is how that's pretty broad.
Yep.
And it's a great idea.
Yep.
But it's sort of like saying, follow your dreams.
Trust your heart.
Yeah. So from what I mean by all of that is that asking questions is like the best thing that you can do.
Yes.
When that means that you are thirsty to learn more.
Yes.
And that's where you need to be. And if we're all asking questions to each other and finding things out together and kind of going through the struggle together, then I think that's where God is asking us to be, to keep searching. I think faith is about seeking and searching and knowing that, moving forward one step at a time is what we need to be doing. And we might take one step back and 2 steps forward, but at least you're still making progress.
Yes.
And I think
that's
what faith is all about. I don't know.
I'm looking for something to say other than that's just amazing. So, yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah, so it's great to play. It's good to use your imagination. That's how the world changes for the better every day.
What a wonderful life too, isn't it? Isn't it just such a life-giving view of living with each other and living with God, playing, asking questions. Of course, all the other parts of life are part of it too, but those are 2 things we can celebrate.
For sure. Yeah. Like we were talking about earlier, some things that you can do as an adult that you might have enjoyed as a child that once you sort of let go of if you worry about things like what somebody else might think, if you've seen the show Friends, there's an episode where, oh my gosh, my favorite character in the world, Phoebe, is running through Central Park and she is just spazzing out and sprawled all over the place running, and she's just having fun. And Rachel's character says, why are you running like that? Because it's fun. And I never forget that. And things like flying a kite, like we also did this weekend, and blowing bubbles, jumping in puddles, all those kinds of things are, they're pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, but they really make a difference, and they can change your whole day.
Yeah, and also, are those not the things you remember 10, 15, 20 years from now? No one remembers working an extra hour.
Nope.
No one remembers working through dinner. Everyone remembers flying a kite with your children at the beach.
And your children remember it, too.
And your children, yes.
They remember, oh, he wasn't just sitting in the beach chair on his phone. He got up and flew the kite with me, or threw the Frisbee, or whatever it was. And the kids do remember that. They truly do. So, it's good. Also, Home Alone came out.
That's right.
This is a very random little tidbit, but Home Alone, the Christmas classic, came out 30 years ago today. I just happened to read that somewhere, and it is the first movie that my husband and I watched together, and it is a classic that our family watches together every year, and it's not for little children.
Nope. I was telling Wrenn, we put it on a couple years ago, and we're like, oh, there's a lot of things I forgot about in this movie.
That's true. So,
but what a good classic Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's really great. It's very, just let yourself enjoy that, and and let's see, you have a song?
I do.
You have a song? Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it fits our very child-centric theme today.
Sweet.
So I've just had this song in my head all week because at Grace Kitchen tomorrow we are serving chicken soup with rice. And as a kid, I love the song. Carole King sings it, Chicken Soup with Rice. It's like a Maurice Sendak book that she put to music, and there was a whole cartoon about it. I think it's from the 70s.
Wow. Yeah. I'm familiar with the book, but I don't know that I've ever heard that song.
Do I know a 70s song that you don't know, Wrenn?
Yes, I think you've discovered one. I'm going to listen to that on the way home.
It's
Chicken soup with rice.
And we shared it with our kids a lot. So I've just been thinking, I'm not going to hum the tune because this isn't the place for that. But just the chicken soup with rice going through my head all week.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a delicious meal, too. Exciting. Well, my song for this week is These Are the Days by 10,000 Maniacs. It is just a song that makes you just want to go outside and run. And I thought about it because it just ties in so perfectly with, just moving forward and play. It's actually the song in the opening scene of a movie called Cheaper by the Dozen with Steve Martin. And they've got 12 children, and he's jogging up to their giant farmhouse at the beginning of the movie, and this song is playing. And that's also a really, really good movie that younger children can actually enjoy. That's a great song. I recommend it for you.
Well, thanks for joining us this week on the Tuesday Afternoon Podcast. We're so glad you did. We hope this can be a place of joy and light in your week whenever you're listening to it. And we're going to close with a prayer. God, thank you that you are a God of joy and laughter, and that you invite us into your eternal joy. May we enjoy it today, and may we share that joy with others in all that we do. We ask this in the name and way of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Afternoon Podcast with Ben and Wrenn. If you'd like to keep up with us and see when all the new episodes come out, you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere that you get podcasts, or on our Facebook page, or our YouTube page, and we even have a brand new Instagram page, which is at Tuesday Afternoon Podcast. Tuesday Afternoon Podcast is part of the Hope Fellowship Collective, a new community of folks gathering together to learn and grow and experience the love of God and share it with the world. You can find out more about Hope Fellowship at hopesparta.org, and you can really help out our podcast by subscribing, by giving us a good review so that we can get this hope out to as many people as we can. Have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday.